flies across it. When a planet transits, NASA's computers graph the curving light from the star. Regular repeated dips in the curve could indicate a new planet. A smaller dip, K3-6T, when a planet passes behind the star, creates reflections. Scientists can draw conclusions about the planet's atmosphere from these reflections because, as Kepler knew, the laws of physics and chemistry are universal, even way out in space. For example, light is absorbed by different atoms and different wavelengths. So a light signature provides data on a planet's atmosphere. Hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, sodium, and other elements have been identified in new planets. However, the proportion of their composition is uncertain, making the detection of water difficult. But back to the Kepler data and some recent candidates for human habitation. In 2013, a star named Kepler 62 was found with 2 planets in its habitable zone. At first, these were considered similar to Earth, but on further analysis, each planet's mass was found to be several times greater than that of Earth. Their gravity might be strong enough to pull the helium and hydrogen gases, but this makes them similar to Neptune rather than Earth. The following year, a star called Kepler 186 came under scrutiny. Its 5th planet, known as Kepler 186f, seemed more likely candidate. With a diameter of 14,000 kilometers, it is roughly 10% wider than Earth. It orbits close enough to Kepler 186 for it to be temperate, allowing water to flow on the surface. Smaller than the planets orbiting Kepler 62, Kepler 186f is more likely to have similar gravity to Earth's and a rocky surface, perhaps containing iron, ice, and liquid water. At the outer edge of the habitable zone, its surface may freeze as it receives 1/6 of the light from its star than Earth does from the sun. On the other hand, with a greater mass, Kepler 186f may have thicker atmosphere, providing significant insulation. This has led astronomers to dub Kepler 186f Earth's cousin, not its twin. But I can hear you thinking, okay, there are planets out there that sound Earth-like, but can we reach them? Currently, no. In the near to medium term future, afraid not. The only known man-made object to have left the solar system is the unmanned Voyager 1 probe. This happened in late 2013, and it had taken 37 years to travel from Earth. Voyager travels at around 61,000 kilometers per hour. Kepler 186f is about 500 light years away. At Voyager's current speed, it would take 17,400 years to travel a single light year, or 88.7 million years for the journey from Earth to Kepler J86f. The space shuttle, the only speedy manned spacecraft, is far slower than Voyager, with speeds of just 45,000 kilometers per hour, meaning a 12 million year journey. Meantime, the Hubble telescope is investigating a suitable planet called GJ 124b at a distance of 40 light years away. But whether a planet is 40 or 500 light years away is immaterial. Humans have always reached for the stars. Kepler, the man, and Kepler, the spacecraft, have raised the possibility of human habitation only our transport remains primitive. That is the end of this listening test. Okay, I'm going to turn my video on. Okay, I think Paul's going to lead you in questions now.
So I think everybody must have copied their answers to the answer sheet. Now, once and all, you can transfer all your answers to the chat box so that we can check all your answers and get back to you. We'll give you 3 to 4 minutes to write down your answers, and then we will start narrating the answers for the same. Okay, time is up, students. Mr. Russell will narrate the answers for the questions which you have done or written on your paper or which you have submitted in the chat box. Mr. Russell, can you please narrate the answers for each and every question?
I'm not getting them. I think I only got one. Oh, the answer sheet you sent me here?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was not prepared with that. Is that what you've sent me here now? Sorry.
I'll do it. Just give me a sec, please.
Thank you.
So the students, now you're able to see the answers on the screen for the first 10 questions which you have written on your notebooks. The first answer is smaller planets. Second, a habitable zone or habitable zone only. Third answer is scientific method or the scientific method. Fourth is C. Fifth is C. Sixth, A. Seventh, mass. Eighth, 10%. It can be written in three forms: numerical or numerical, the percentage sign can be used as well. Number 9th is insulation. Number 10th is 500 light years. It can be numerical as well as in alphabetical order. Alphabetically. I hope every student must have checked their answers. I'll keep this screen for a minute more so that everybody can check out your answers, and then Mr. Russel Boris will carry on his with further session.
Great, thank you very much. So a couple comments. I'm not sure how many of these practice tests you've taken. This was a very difficult one. It is a subject that is not very familiar to many of us. I'm sure not many of us here study that sort of science. However, unfortunately, when you're doing an Ielts test, none of the subjects are going to be very easy. We're not going to get questions or lectures about sports or cricket or something like that. They're always going to be subjects that are academic minded. It's always a good idea to pay attention to the numbers and the years when they're talking about those sort of things. A lot of the questions or a lot of the listening exercises you're going to be finding are history related. This one here, I would say, is history related, but it had a very scientific subject, and that made it difficult for probably at least half of you who are not, who don't have a science background. If you were one of those people that your hobby was looking at stars, that might have been an easy subject. So at any rate, don't get frustrated. Doesn't matter what the subject is. It's going to be about a 5 to 6 minute lecture, and it's going to be very similar to what you're going to see in a college or university. I know it's very difficult not to let your mind wander, but this is where strong discipline comes in, to keep yourself focused on what is the subject, even when it is no interest of you. Of course, if they were talking about Canadian geography or the history of the Punjab, it would be very easy and engaging to stay in it. But I think, my opinion is IELTS chooses subjects to make sure you're capable of learning new subjects. So I think that'll close off this lecture section or this listening exercise for today. I want to leave some time to you to talk with me about any of your study abroad questions. And I will just keep talking about Canada till we start getting some of those questions. Amber Paul, are you going to choose the questions as they come in, or should I be following that? We lost somebody here. Okay. Is anybody else still with me here? Mr. Anmol? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Everybody's here.
Okay, yeah. So who's going to be moderating the questions?
Amrital, is there any questions from the students?
So as of now, I don't see any questions. We can start with the general session about Canada study. What are the requirements, and we can continue with that. What charms are
and how we gonna help them for the conditional offer
Excellent.
letters and
Excellent. Very good subject. Very easy subjects for me to talk about rather than difficult questions. And so I think most of you are going to be looking at Canada as your study destination. The requirements for all institution is going to change depending on what you're applying for. But overall, institutions in Canada are going to be looking for an Ielts score of 6.5 or 6.0. Some schools now, a lot of the schools, especially on the West Coast, sound like they're having a little bit lower of an IELTS score with a 6.0, but they're going to ask that no band be below 6. So frankly speaking, don't be scared if an institution you're looking at is a 6.5 if they don't have a band restriction. Of thousands of IELTS scores I've seen over my career, to hit a 6.0 in all three bands and an even score of 6.0 is quite a rarity. You're usually stronger in one section or the other. So in my opinion is, if you're looking at schools and thinking it'll be easier to apply just because it has a 6.0, that may not necessarily be true because of the band restriction. So obviously, IELTS score with a minimum band of 6.5, sorry, a minimum score of 6.5 with no band requirement may not be any higher than one with a 6.0 and no band under 6. Some colleges and some schools are still taking students with an IELTS score of 6.0 with no band under 5.5, but those are becoming less and less. So you really need to study all sections of IELTS. So that's the first step when you're applying to Canada. The number one thing you have to remember is work closely with us at Charms Education. That's very important. We have a great counseling team and can answer all those little questions. They seem like little questions to you, but they're not little questions in the process. And you may miss something and you may delay your dream of studying at a specific institution in Canada rather than asking the question. So you think it might be easy just to scour over people's web pages? It isn't. Please stay with us and let Charms Education help you as much as possible with this process. We are going to get you to Canada. So the other words of advice I have today in Canada, rather than just talking specifically about institutions or regions, is that it isn't over just because you passed your IELTS test. Then the next step is we want you to be successful in Canada. We want to help you with giving you advice every step of the way, arranging housing, where to look for part-time jobs, What's your expectations for part-time job pay? And all those questions. Of course, you can ask me some of those questions during my sessions, but you will forget the answers or you won't think of the questions until it starts to affect you. And again, I am going to always repeat, it's so important that you work with one of our counselors. I can honestly tell you, over my years, I did, I'm just trying to remember the numbers now. I did about 15, 17 years in Alberta in an institution, and I received thousands of students from CHARMS. And then I did another 8 years in the Okanagan of British Columbia at a much larger institution, and I received many students from CHARMS. I can tell you by working with CHARMS education, you will be more successful. I will not publish these statistics because they're not of public knowledge, but I can honestly tell you that the success rate of students that arrived in Canada from CHARMS education were much higher than many other agencies or organizations. I'm not here to talk bad about other agencies. I'm only here to tell you firsthand that when you work with CHARMS education, you will be prepared. We are going to do pre-departure orientations. We're going to post videos. We're going to give you lots of information, because the more you're prepared, the more successful that first semester is going to be. Being successful in your very first semester is an amazing task. It's a difficult task. I understand. When you first arrive in Canada, you've never eaten some of the food. You don't even know where to go shopping. You don't know, your housing situation. And so that takes your focus away from your studies. And the more we can help you with some of those issues and bring those issues to your attention before you go, the more successful you are. That's going to save you time, a lot of time. Failing your first semester and having to repeat it is not only a lot of time, it's a lot of resources for you and your family to repeat classes. So the better prepared you are, the quicker you can achieve your goals. And let's face it, they're your dreams. We can't wait for you to get, again, for the third time today, graduation. I want you to continue to look beyond just the arrival in Canada. I want you to hit there excited, ready to be successful and conquer that first semester. And at CHARMS Education, we know what that's going to take. And you just have to work closely with us and trust the process that we have done for thousands and thousands of students. This is a new this is a new chapter for CHARMS Education. Having me on the ground here in Canada, knowing many, if not most of the principals and players and personnel at all the institutions at Canada, when you run into problems and you do communicate with your counselor, I will be there to support you. And so having me here in Canada will hopefully be a great benefit to getting you prepared for graduation, not just to arrive in Canada. Anybody can help you get a letter of acceptance. Anybody can help you buy an airline ticket. But here at CHARMS, we're interested in you succeeding. And so I know that sounds very harsh, very strong sales type language, but it isn't sales, because I see too many students over my career not prepared and not succeed. It's very difficult for you. It's extremely stressful, and it's embarrassing when you don't succeed to your family, to your friends, and the people that supported you. I know firsthand, very clearly, firsthand, prior to working with CHARMS, and why am I doing this at the later part of my career is I trust the CHARMS education process. I saw CHARMS education students cross the graduation stage. So we're here, we're ready to work with you. We have 11 offices across India, and I'm sure you've all been on our website already, and please reach out for all the assistance we can give you. So I think I'm getting some messages here. Are we have some questions of me?
Yes, we can go for the questions answers. So I have a first question over here from Naval. So she has asked, so when we can start applying for Jan 2023?
January 2023. Each institution is going to be a little bit different of when the application. Many institutions are accepting applications already. So it's going to depend on the institution. So that question is, narrow that one down with your counselor at Charms Education and ask them the question. So for example, if you're wanting to go to ABC school in Toronto, ask when the application deadlines. It is not standardized across Canada. But what I'm always going to encourage you is don't be late. And how do you know if you're late? If you don't ask when you can start applying. Something else I want to stress with that very excellent question is, I don't want to talk about deadlines ever. I want to talk about the first opportunity for you to apply. And also, a lot of institutions will let you apply, get yourself into the queue even before you take the Ielts test. So you're in the queue, and then there's outstanding items such as high school, university transcript, receipts, those sort of things. And of course, the one that we're all here for today is your Ielts score. So some institutions will accept your applications right now for January 23 with or without an Ielts score. You're not going to get an answer until you get your Ielts score and all your documents complete. But again, it's really important that you enter the queue for those high demand programs.
Okay, so the next question is, why is there so much delay in visa decisions by High Commission of Canada?
Well, I love being Canadian, and I laugh because for 30 years of my career, I push and sometimes fight with IRCC. It is a question that we just simply can't answer. And I can tell you right now, it has nothing to do with us as the organization that's helping you apply for the visa. It's a very frustrating time. So what I'm hearing though is there is lack of staff of at the Canadian High Commission in India. A lot of families and workers were brought home during COVID crisis, and they've been dealing with new electronic systems and smaller staff. In my opinion, it is not acceptable, and I'm not going to be here defending IRCC's delay. It's frustrating for you, and it's frustrating for all of us. And it's very, very frustrating for institutions. We are sitting in Canada, when I'm talking to institutional friends, that oftentimes they are sitting at right now, 30% of visas were processed. That's not saying that 70% got denied. We are sitting at only about 30% of visas being processed. There is a large backlog. And I'm sorry, I know in Indian English, backlog is failing. There is a large waiting time for the visas. I think as long as the pandemic's on, it's going to take a while for Canada to get caught up. So how do we combat that? For me, just to say, it's just the way it is, that doesn't give you an answer. So if you're applying for visas for any semester, please get your letter of acceptance as early as possible so we can lodge your visa application as soon as possible. That's so important. And that's the only way we can combat and fight against these large delays.
I would just like to add on. So if you are willing to apply for any college or for any intake, it is never too early. Okay, so you need to apply it as soon as possible so that you have the right college at the right course at the right time. So it is very important that you apply as soon as possible so that we can have a seat available for you at the desired institute you are looking for. So the next question over here I have with this, is there any chances of visa with 5.5 in one module?
You'd have to be more specific. There is a few institutions that we can get you in with an overall 5.5. I think you said, Amritpal, one module. And so there is quite a few institutions if you have a minimum score of 6.0. However, my advice to that question is don't choose your institution on what the easiest way to get into. Choose the institution that you want to go to and dream about and want to invest your money in, and then let's work together to get you those requirements. Of course, there is a limit to that. I wanted to be a doctor, but I couldn't get into medical school, so I had to change my profession. And so there is a limit to that. But to look for an institution rather than retaking an Ielts score and missing out on your institution or your region of choice just because you don't want to take another Ielts score is advice I would never give. So again, work with your counselor at Charms and we will help you see what your situation is and give you your best advice. I was remiss in the last section. By applying early, sometimes we can get you a conditional letter of acceptance. And by getting you a conditional letter of acceptance, that buys you time. A lot of institutions will give a conditional letter of acceptance and give you 2 or 3 months to get an Ielts score. So that gives you a chance when you're talking about the individual who asked about the 5.5 with the conditional letter of acceptance in hand, then you would have the option and the privilege of retaking the Ielts, and let's get you into that institution that you choose. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, for sure, 5.5 was a very acceptable score. But frankly speaking, 5.5 is not a desired score by Canadian institutions now. And my other personal fatherly advice is, if your English is only at a 5.5 level, you're going to struggle your first 2 semesters until you get used to English in Canada. So work hard now, invest your time now. Let us help you with teaching you Ielts preparation, and let's get you your English level at a point that the only barrier when you get to Canada to get those high scores is the time and effort you put in, not an English barrier.
So I would just like to add on to this. So the better results means better chances of visa decision. So we would highly like to you to have a better score. We won't recommend anybody to apply on 5.5 because ultimately it would be reflecting on your visa chances. So better scores on your Ielts would bring up the higher the visa chances. So that's what we would be pitching up. So the Ielts is not that hard that ones need to be practicing lot and lot. It is just merely an English test. So don't underestimate yourself. Practice hard and write an Ielts exam so that you have a better chances for your Canada study abroad dream. Thank you.
Very well said, Amrit. Yeah, you nailed that very well.
So the next question I have over here is GRE accepted in Canadian universities?
Again, that is a question you're going to have to ask a Charms education counselor because each institution is different. And so there is a few institutions that GREs are accepted, but it is not the full offerings. It's not a general yes. And great news is it's not a general no. So that's all the more important that you work with our counselors to help you choose the right institution tailor-made to your educational background.
So in order to get yourselves profile assessed, so I would like you to contact our helpline number, that is 98172-98172, so that they can connect you with the respective counselors according to your profile and to your the desired plans for your study abroad. So I would I will share the number in the chat box as well. I'll repeat the number once again. It is 98172-98172. Or you can also go to our website, charms.co.in, and raise a web inquiry over there. Another thing, if you have your counselors, if you're doing your Ielts at our institutes, or CHAMS institutes, you can ask your trainers or the Ielts coordinators to arrange an appointment with one of our study visa experts, so they can get yourself helped out for your study abroad, so that you can plan ahead your things and fulfill your dreams of Canada study. So if there is anybody else have any other questions, please feel free to type down in a Q&A section or in chat box. So I don't see any more questions over here in the question box. In the meanwhile, I'll share the link for our website, so they can visit our website and a CHAMS helpline number. So students, if you have any queries related to your study abroad, any questions, you can type it in your Q&A section. So I have over here, what are the requirements for Thompson River universities? So again, I would like you to, if you have a specific questions related to a particular university or to a profile, I would suggest you to contact us on our the number given in our chat box, that is 98172 to get your personalized queries sorted out. Generally for Thompson River, it depends upon your profile, so it would be better to discuss with one of our study visa experts individually or personally, or we can also arrange a Zoom with video session, so if you are unable to travel to our office. One more thing I would like to give you a trial about is about our website, how you can raise your queries. So I think you should be able to see my screen as of now. So this is our homepage of our chams.co.in. So over here, you would be able to see what are the services we are providing and what are the branches available at this. So on the right side, you would be able to see the query section. Over here, you can type in your details, and one of our representative from CHAMS will be calling you back for the further process or the further query you have. Even you can chat with us over here, so that it would be helping you out. So how to answer your queries. So you can just type it in your query, whatever you have, and one of our study visa experts will reply to you back immediately. I hope we are clear over here. If anybody has another question related to Ielts or any other study abroad or general query, we would be more likely to help you out. So, Mr. Russell, we have a question from Churchit Bansal. Can we apply scholarships on the basis of Ielts only?
Yeah, this is always popular questions around scholarships. And so I'm going to be, I don't want to be a dream killer, but I'm going to be very, very honest with you. There's very few entrance scholarships coming to Canada. And they're not, if there is entrance scholarships, and I must stress, there is not very many, they are rarely based 100% on Ielts scores. They're going to be based on your academic success, your 12th year transcripts, and they're also going to be based on your Ielts. And so, yes, that is possible that there is scholarships, but just achieving a 7.0 on an Ielts is probably not going to guarantee you of a scholarship. It opens possibilities, but there is no magic Ielts score that will get you scholarships. However, scholarships in most institutions in Canada are earned as you are progressing through the school. So students who are getting extremely high scores and are finishing in the top 5, in some institutions, top 10%, will be eligible for continuance scholarships rather than entrance scholarships.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you for the answer. Krishna's rule, yes, you can definitely apply for September intake. You can still reach one of our study visa counselor or visit our branch for the same. Over here, so I would like to now thanks Mr. Russell for his valuable time and for his valuable session about IELTS as well as for Canada study visa. So thank you, Mr. Russell, for your time. Have a lovely evening. As of now, it is night at that in Canada. So we would be conducting another session. It would be in the next coming weeks. We will be sharing the details with all of you, with the students, so that you can join us. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good night.